In Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maokbe Ogu Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde in the Lagos studio. It's 27 degrees here in Lagos. And guess what? Today is November 10, 2025. Just so you know. And if you're counting down to Christmas, do the math. Well, again, welcome to the show.
It's a little early now, isn't it? But, you know, for Lagosians, considering the fact that I spent the weekend in Lagos, perhaps not. Because in some places, they were already beginning to speak of the traffic returning ahead of a dirty December. But while Lagosians might be preparing for a dirty December, it was a polls closed in Anambra State as the people of Anambra, as I like to say, in the Anambra, went to the polls and returned Governor Chukwuma Soludo with 422,644 votes. The closest contender came second. That was the All Progressives Congress came second with 99,445 votes. Just in case you missed how the announcement went by the Independent National Electoral Commission, here is how the polls were summarized at the end of voting in Anambra State.
It's a calm and orderly atmosphere at the INEC Collation Center in Awka, where results from the 21 local government areas were received and tallied under the supervision of the state returning officer, Professor Edoba Omoroge.
Before me is the result for...
One after another, collation officers from each local government area present their results, with Ihiala local government bringing in the final figures.
Party ADC, 232. Party APC, 3284.
After verifying the figures, Professor Omoroge formally declares the All Progressives Grand Alliance candidate, Governor Chukwuma Soludo, as duly elected with a total of 422,664 votes.
I therefore declare that Soludo Charles Chukwuma of the APGA, I will satisfy the requirement of the law and score the highest number of votes in this election. Is hereby declared the winner and return elected.
Receiving the certificate of return on behalf of the party, ABGA National Chairman Sly Ezeokenwa describes the victory as an endorsement of Governor Soludo's development strides and a renewed call for service.
The Anambra came out en masse to repose their trust and faith in Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo as a leader who is going to take them to the next level in Anambra State, to the El Dorado of development.
While some election observers commend the conduct of the poll and the collation process, others, including opposition figures, raise concerns about aspects of the exercise, urging INEC to address identified lapses in future elections.
We are very impressed seeing that the environment was stable, the environment was peaceful. It was very convivial to encourage and invoke interest of the electorate, and that led to proper electorate turnout towards, casting the ballot. So we are very impressed with that.
The process is that the beavers will capture you, and now that's what will actually permit you to go and vote. But the given situation where we begin to talk about overvoting in some polling units, it now tells you that something is, was actually wrong.
With his re-election, Governor Soludo now faces the task of deepening reforms, sustaining infrastructure renewal, and delivering on his promise of good governance to the people of Anambra State. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
Well, indeed, Governor Chukwuma Soludo has since thanked the people of Anambra State for returning him as the governor of the state, saying that he won emphatically, that they spoke emphatically. And if you were to look at the data of the polls, you'll see that over 2.7 million people were registered to vote in this polls in Anambra. The total number of people who were accredited came up to over 500,000. Nearly 600,000, more specifically 598,299. Anambra has a total number of 21 local government areas. Total number of votes cast was 595,298. Total valid votes was 584,054, and rejected votes came to a little over 11,000. And so we still have seen a few complaints here and there by those who participated in the polls. So we will hear, not perhaps much later in the program, from the speech that Governor Soludo gave the people of Anambra State post that election. But this morning on Sunrise Daily, we are focusing on the complaints of those, or perhaps the experience of those who also participated in the elections as candidates, and how they really feel about the declaration of the result. This morning we're joined by Mr. Jude Ezenwafo, who is the PDP governorship candidate in Anambra State. Mr. Ezenwafo, thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise Daily this morning. The polls have now come and gone. INEC has done its part. The security agencies have also done their part. The results have now been declared. Do you agree with the results that have been declared as a reflection of what really transpired on Saturday?
Well, good morning, and I quite agree with the INEC, the Independent Electoral Commission, that the results are what transpired. And I congratulate my friend, Governor Chukwuma Soludo, on his landmark victory.
Well, I'm looking at the results of the elections right now, and I see that the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, whom you represent, came a distant sixth in the polls with just a little over 1,000 votes. If I were to read it, 1,401 votes. Did you read the mood correctly when you decided to run as governorship candidate in Anambra?
Yes, if you know what is happening in my party, the PDP in Anambra State was in comatose stage when I came in and started to run. I was shot. I was assassinated. There were assassination attempts on me, and then which delayed me. I was hospitalized for almost 3 months. And when I came in, before I came in, they bought all my executives. They bought from even the national, no support from anywhere. So I have no option to, key in. There was no support. Even the state executives were working for another party. Everything I planned, set in motion was, there was massive betrayal from the state executive and a few of the national the party. No single help, no single assistance. You see, the vote I had, I congratulate myself and my friends and my fans. The vote I had, we are done. I didn't buy any vote because there were massive vote buying. I did not coerce anybody. Those are my personal fans that gave me 1,470 votes. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to get this vote, and I congratulate the original PDP man, the real PDP in the state. Just keep calm. PDP will come up again. Apuga in Anambra the way we set it before we left has become a movement. And we need to partner in any way we can to forestall our real mission as a party.
So you put down this performance of yours to internal sabotage and the fact that, you were hospitalized 3 months before the elections, an attempt which you have also tied to the elections. You said that an assassination attempt was made on your life. I wanted to find out, was it a reflection of the general atmosphere in Anambra prior to the polls? Would you say that there was a general atmosphere of fear and intolerance ahead of the polls that transpired on Saturday?
Of course, there's a lot that happened in this state, and the height of insecurity and all this. But like I said in my previous interviews, Professor Chukwuma Soludo and his security team are working tirelessly to make affect what they're doing. I used to say it, and I will say it once more. We have a very competent security chiefs in Anambra State, and I would advise His Excellency Governor Chukwuma Soludo what they just need is to be equipped. And the security will be a thing, insecurity will be a thing of the past. I've been there. I've been the senior special assistant to the governor on security, and we ran it for 8 years, and Anambra was the safest state during our time. And I believe he will do more. I believe he will do more. I've called him, congratulated him, and I will tell him again, if you don't do well, I go talk or shout. But he's doing well for the big time. And I wish he will call in other candidates, opponents, just like Mr. President Pat told him. So you see, all of us are competent in their various ways. They are doing very well. I know most of them are done very well. They are seasoned administrators. I would advise Governor Chukwuma Soludo to run an inclusive government so that Anambra will be a very safe and prosperous state to dream.
All right, Mr. Ezenwafo, I would like to find out, so what do we then make of the complaints of the Labour Party candidate who has said that he's dissatisfied, and also that of the ADC who say that, they cannot support what transpired on Saturday as a result of vote buying?
You see, that's their own opinion. I intend to challenge in the court whether vote buying is not election rigging. But you see that the almost 5 political parties did vote buying. If you remove the 5 political parties, you will get me. Do you understand? And I did not do any vote buying, not even appear in any people, not even party agents. Because my agents were taken by the state executive to work for another party. It's their own point of view. We'll just allow Anambra people have spoken. We'll allow Soludo to finish this 4 years.
What other parties took your state agents?
My state executives were, the former state chairman of PDP is the deputy governor in ADC. He brought the incumbent PDP state chairman, all of them, with the state secretary, all of them were working for ADC, the former organ's place. But I came in, there's no way we would have challenged Soludo or even the APC, the pillar, the man that came in and made APC more visible in Anambra State. There's no way I would have challenged them if I don't have assistance from the party. Just like I was saying before, PDP, Anambra State used to be PDP state.
So we can take it then that you're going to be working with Governor Chukwuma Soludo.
I can assist him. I've been assisting him before. He's my friend. I brought him to work in Anambra. I've said it before. I convinced Soludo to come and run this election in the first instance that, when I was senior special assistant to Governor Obiano on political matters and security. And he came in and he did well, even though I have some places I've fought him, but there's no perfect, you cannot get any perfect person.
What do you say to those? I mean, given all that you've said, what would you say to those who will say you were just a figurehead? You were not really in the polls, you were just filling position, so that it would not be like as if the PDP did not present any candidate?
Yes, but if you say something like that, it doesn't matter to me, because nobody will throw away his money over 80-something million to claim a party ticket just to be a figurehead. Am I stupid? I have intention to run the election. I have my organic, I have my organic Millionaires Club. 100 people that promised me 10 votes. I was already cruising at 326,000 votes. Well, these people just messed me up. But I'm not desperate. I'm not feeling so bad about it. I thank God that I'm alive. I'm even suspecting that they were the people that shot me. But the security, as I'm going back to Abuja now, the security man, I'll be hold on them to tell me the people that shot me. Because I still have some pillars in my leg. Some bullets in my leg.
We have with us now studios Professor Odenta, who is the founder national secretary of the Alliance for Democracy. Good morning, Prof. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
So at least it's a little over a week has passed now. This matter is still very much on the front burner. We still keep getting reactions from very prominent leaders. And yesterday we heard from the spokesperson of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Professor Ishaq Oloide, as well as Pastor Enoch Adeboye, who seem to be proffering solutions to what needs to happen right now. So what is your immediate thinking, given all that we have seen so far and heard, and the steps that the Nigerian government has taken?
Now, Mogbe, the way I will break it down is simple. Instinctively, my predilection would be towards utter condemnation of the system, the government, the president, and everything. But I'm not going to do that. We are patriots. And this is a moment that patriotism is required, to transcend grievances, differences, political altercations, etc. We can drill down into that later. What is important, we make profound statements as those who bear the torch of our generation in the country today. Next statement is this: Nigeria is interlocked by fault lines because of the way we are bettered. Not an organic country of me and you and everybody knowing who we are and coming together in intentional manner to form a state. It's hundreds and hundreds of different nationalities, ethnic groups, faith, persuasions, coupled together by the British imperialists. So we're still struggling to build a nation. And when you have these fault lines, they can explode. And then you lose sight of the big issue. Like Tifola Pat, Shebe would say, when the whole brouhaha will end, you don't even know where it started. You don't see Christians digging in and defending the ability of this genocide and welcoming all manners of interventions. And Muslims on the other side, maybe bearing, protests in the street there, railing against America and so on. We're forgetting the critical issue facing the nation. So we must understand we're living in dangerous times, and it is a slippery slope into national sort of implosion if you don't take time to take a step back and begin to allow reason and rational and logical thought to drive our responses. Number two is that it has shown the power of America and the power of the word. Trump has not carried on, he has not bombed anybody yet. He just made a statement. He posted on the social media, and we are scrambling all over the place because of the immense economic, political, and military might of that country. It's a wake-up call. So I can say that one of the positives of this very brash statement of guns are blazing, of the being a disgraced state, is it has now remobilized our national engine rooms. The president has started to hold meetings with critical stakeholders in the villa. The Minister of Information, I forgot even there was a national press center somewhere in Area 11. Suddenly it's down, being back to life.
Oh, they've used
conferences.
Some people said they've been using it before now.
I don't know what it is.
To market what the government has been doing.
Fine.
Well, we will know because we're journalists.
Yeah, journalists.
They always invite us.
On our side.
Yes.
Now, Foreign Affairs Minister, who has not been intentionally pushing for ambassadors for 2 years, suddenly someone ambassadors, all of them in the country, here, to address them. The NSA, you can see his office brimful with visitors from China, from everywhere and so on. You find academics, policy experts, conflict resolution experts all weighing in. That simply means that we have suddenly woken up from slumber. It required the statement of a foreign president for us to do what we ought to be doing on a daily basis. What may be lacking on this part of the government and the president is that so far I've not even heard something like Presidential Council on Foreign Relations. You have the likes of Bolaji Akinyebi. He's still out there. You have Emeka Anyoko. He may be elderly, but he's out there strong. You have people like Gikiwe. And so many others I can mention. You have even Association of Retired Career Ambassadors. How are you summoning the experiences of these people to come to bear? Which voice have you deployed across the world, including the US, who are even your lobbyists and so on, trying to convince them this is what they are doing? These are the critical things we ought to do if the government is not comprehensively distracted. It is that sense of distraction that led us to where we are.
Yeah, you know, I'm looking at what Pastor Deboe said. From what he said, it does appear that he believes that there could be, and I think that's where a lot of people are unsure, because everybody knows that you cannot predict President Donald Trump. If there's anything that he's shown, that he cannot be predicted. And so people have been trying to deduce whether or not he will really intervene guns a-blazing or not. However, it does appear that from the solutions that Pastor Enoch is proffering, he seems to be saying, don't take this lightly. He's saying, move fast, move diplomatically, move wisely, and try to convince him to delay whatever intervention he has for at least 100 days.
That's essentially the point I'm making here.
Yes, indeed.
We don't even know the sort of intellectual force and strategic energy or depth the president is mobilizing. We don't know, because of what the pastor said. If you engage a character like Donald Trump, who is irascible and who is giving, to his inconvenient mode of speaking and acting and incorrect political posturing and behavior, it can't take anything off the table. Why it is almost impossible for a president of a country like the US to just go on and blazing all over the country without demarcating the geographies of intervention and then networking with local authorities. We can still know exactly what they have in mind. Especially in the world today, in which precision bombing, electronic warfare, drones and sort of things could be the order of the day. But we haven't even got into that yet. What we do is that the rhetoric of Trump is conditioned on certain strategic parameters. He goes to the extreme, not because he's not clear in his head. He could have won election 2016, lost 2020, won it again, if he's not clear and intentional about his own mode of operating. So what he does is that he takes you to the rhetorical extreme as a way of getting you to do the correct thing. That's my own reading. I may be wrong. If you look at Gaza, I would turn you into a Riviera. I would take out the rubble and build fantastic places there, golf courses and so on. The Muslim world, the Arab world, were screaming. This man is crazy in the head. That's an extreme measure. What we have now, some relative peace in Gaza, some ceasefire. Because they push them to the extreme. If you don't do this, I will go to that extreme level. But if you come to your senses and then begin to work with the stakeholders within the region in order to find some common ground, I will support that. So the signal to Nigeria is that I've given you an extreme rhetorical, task. I'll come going and blazing. to actually rescue and wake up this disgraced nation, killing Christians. But if you do the proper thing there, we can scale this thing back. Proper thing and scaling it back means, as we said, get your ambassadors in place for 2 years. I don't know why the president and his team cannot have ambassadors for 2 years. It's a national embarrassment across the world. They have the job they're doing. That's why if you have a serious country and you have an ambassador, you have the table of conversation. Britain is not going to allow a charge d'affaires or a minister, a councillor to come at the right table in negotiation concerning the fate of Nigeria. US is even worse, and many other great countries of the world. Fix that. Number 2, stop the killings. By the security agency, you know who they are. You know who they are. Don't turn a blind eye to them. Don't turn a deaf ear to them. Look at the cries of the people for days, for weeks, for months, for years. Do something about it. Practical things. Somebody outside will say they have taken some concrete steps. But the short-term step, the mid-term step, and long-term sustainability, the conflation steps. How do you even talk about post-conflict reconstruction? In those environments, you have even reduced the scale of conflict. How about IDPs? How are you managing them? How about humanitarian services? There are many things the vulnerable groups there are lacking, and the government is not actually showing empathy. Sometimes in this mode of confrontation, empathy is even very important. The mindset of the government, the way and manner the president leads the charge. Nobody are persuaded. Come to Benue, come to Plateau. We and most and end that grudgingly and reluctantly. You do that. It doesn't show that you're a caring leader, or that you're a caring government, or a caring party in power. These are some of the things I think all of us as a nation we grapple with. Why we reduce the fault lines and the tensions within the fissures of these fault lines. Because not to do so, we become more problematic in re-engaging and mobilizing the energy of Nigerians across all the faith frontiers.
Let's go to Lagos. I know that Ayo has a lot of questions for you. Ayo, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. You know, Prof, President Trump is not the first and only world leader, government leader of other countries to make a statement about Nigeria such as this. We've heard from previous UK prime ministers who have called us all sorts of names, and a number of other nations like that. Even a legislator in Canada also made a similar statement, perhaps even a veiled response, a veiled reference to what the President of the United States of America has said. So it is not a new issue. And add that to the fact that the U.S. government has more than enough details about Nigeria to know whether or not all of the issues raised in the message sent by the U.S. president and made public all over the world is true or not. How influential, in your opinion, is the war of narratives on the conversations that we're having on this particular matter?
At the initial stage, war of narrative is very important, to the degree that you want to shape perception, public perception. If your narrative is very potent, very effective, and very, goal-driven, you become, of course, the perception will be very clear in what you are driving. But at the end of the day, there's a limit to narrative and the beginning of reality. Narrative is mediation of reality, contouring reality to suit your purposes, in terms of how do the people perceive your own point of view. But the point of view does not in any way take away the obvious reality on ground, whether there's Christian genocide, whether there are killings across the country, whether there are Islamic hordes there moving from the north coming south, or whatever the situation may be, whether Trump is coming and gun blazing. These are realities you must confront. You can nuance this reality through your narratives and then succeed at early stage. Later, the narrative will wear thin, and people will still be confronted with the brutal reality of their life on a daily basis. Like I said earlier, and other stakeholders have been talking for the past 1 week plus. You need to engage this matter from multiple fronts. At the international level, you have to understand the power play in the U.S. Unlike Nigeria, where we don't have very powerful laws of lobbying, they have very clear laws of lobbying. Lobbying is not corruption to them. Lobbying is a effective part of interface between the government, civil society, the business community, and other stakeholders within the system. How many lobbying companies do we have in Nigeria? Do we have in the U.S. the government is working with, who can reach the MAGA base or influential members of the MAGA political community? The Cruz, who's leading this charge at the level of the Senate, is anybody talking to him? Maybe the governor of Florida, the Southeast, is anybody reaching out to him? The Secretary of State, is anybody talking to Marco Rubio? These are the things we should be bothered about now, not in terms of narrative. Quiet, keen, inefficient diplomatic work behind the scene. This government doesn't appear to have the resources, intellectual and strategic to do it, because they should have been doing this for the past 2 years, beginning with having ambassadors in Washington, in London, in Brussels, all over the place. Secondly, you have to mobilize the energy of the Nigerian critical stakeholders. You can hear pastors talking, imams talking, and encouragingly, a lot of them are speaking at the center, not at the extremes of the left or the right. It's key. They taught the security agencies and the security apparatuses of the state. The architecture of the security and peace is horrifying today. It has virtually broken down into pieces. You have to reconstitute this architecture. And the agencies must retool themselves and do this work. There's a massive gap between procurement and end result of this procurement. How much money is budgeted by the National Assembly? How much is drawn down? How much is procured? How much is actually purchased in terms of ordnance? The weapons you require, the missiles you require, the craft you require. How do you maintain even the soldiers? Are they being treated properly? These are the key things we need to bother ourselves about. And finally, this country is in a delicate state. The democracy, which you're going to come, I'm sure, in a short while, is fragmented. The political order is fragmented. In multi-party democracy is rather crumbling before our eyes. And the security situation is rather unchecked. We need to put all these things together in a box. The state of our democracy, the state of the economy, the state of security, state of international relations. Ayo, if we begin to bear down on all these domains and sides of life, we may begin to now speak up to Trump, and Trump will understand that something is really going on, like in Gaza, like in Sudan, where they're way in to stop the carnage, like in Rwanda and DRC, where they stepped in to stop the killing reasonably. Like I said, Trump rhetoric is always on the stream, not because it's irrational, but because it's intentional. You want to take it to the stream, and when you understand American power, that he can execute it, being an incorrect leader with incorrect political posturing, you may begin to scramble around as we are scrambling around today to say, we do not want to go to that route. It's a path to perdition, it's a path to national ruination. We can step back and begin to engage this situation, not for the sake of narrative, but to overcome and transcend narrative to confront the reality facing the country today.
Now, it's also interesting that, narrative is always some kind of beginning to all these conversations. And I like something that you said. Everyone, opposition or no opposition, everyone on all extremes are talking now patriotically. We need to do what we need to do. Now, there is something interesting that Pastor Adeboye also mentioned, that because he is a specialist in applied mathematics, he quoted the Newton's law. And I know you know that what Newton's law is about, that a body at rest will remain at rest. And a body in motion will remain in motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. That external force is what he highlighted in that statement, making that reference. Do you think that this is the kind of external force we need? Or rather, maybe I should put it better. Do you think this external force is potent enough to not just steer us in the right direction, but to move us? Something Pastor Adeboye also said in that statement. He's been trying previously in his own private way to encourage presidents to do whatever needs to be done, to follow through on some occasions, and sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. But this time he is making it open. Do you think this external force is significant enough, not just to steer us in the right direction, but to get every one of us, everyone, to move in the right direction?
A nation is a composite unit of variables. And that's why you have authority in a democratic system. That's why you have a constitution. The constitution produces an electoral process. Electoral process produces candidates. Candidate produces results. That's why you have an elected president and a parliament, and then at the subnational level, governors, etc., etc. It's the president's charge to lead. Sometimes if you don't lead, others will compel you to lead. For the past 2 years, this president and his team have refused to lead from the front in terms of insecurity. How do you abate it? In terms of foreign policy and foreign relations. I've said in this studio and many other studios, from 1960, this is the most shambolic and incoherent foreign policy situation we have found ourselves in, where the ECOWAS has virtually imploded before our very eyes, with 3 states walking away, where for 2 years you don't have ambassadors. So yes, external pressure could be a wake-up call to say, if you can't do it yourselves, we can compel you to do it. If you can't look at the mirror and see the picture that is very solid in your own locale, then we have you to look at the mirror. What Trump has done is to use what they call the bully pulpit power of the American presidency. It's enormous. ravaging power across the world to say, we'll bear down on you. Gulf of Guinea will have a carrier there. And as the pastor said, China will not come to your aid. Russia will not come to your aid. They will make some proclamations. That's the end of it. Yes, external pressure of any sort is important, not just to mobilize a government that is intolerant by the day, but to mobilize our citizens to key in this direction to solve the problem in our midst.
Just one more from me, Prof. In terms of going in the right direction. Over the years, there have been complaints, if I can put it that way, that the subnationals are not pulling their weight enough. You would recall a time, for instance, where the former and late President Buhari, called out the governor of Benue State at the time when he came to him in Abuja, was saying, look, come help me. And the guy was saying, look, whatever the situation is, I'm aware it is something you can handle. I think it's also happened in the days of President Jonathan as well, saying, look, the governors have what it takes to deal with certain issues at their own levels. But coming to the presidency, the federal government in Abuja is like shirking their own responsibilities. Add to that the fact that the local government administrations are the first line of security or first line of defense against insecurity. It would seem like we are leaving everything to the federal government and waiting only for the subnationals, only for the federal government to do it, and giving the state governments and the local governments a pass, sort of. How symbolic is that, or rather, how significant is that in this conversation?
Okay, states government at the subnational level, both at the state government level and the local level, they can do palliatives in terms of the security votes, support the security apparatuses, engage with the local stakeholders, mobilize the citizens in terms of information gathering or intel gathering. But the short answer is simple. Whoever controls the military, controls the police, controls the DSS, controls all the paramilitary organizations in the country, and we know who. That's the federal government. They are complicit in this far, far more than the subnational.
Well, we're switching gears now to political matters, and we do know that today the court is going to hear the motion on the PDP convention. We have been saying this because now we finished Anambra. We finished Anambra election.
We're back again to
the national politics, and next week the PDP has indicated interest in holding a national convention, which has been a subject of controversy. Yeah. They want to hold it in Ibadan, but now we're saying that it does appear that there are factions within the PDP. The court should be ruling today on some of the internal matters that they have presented before the party. And you saw, if we're to go with their outing in this last election, we just spoke with their candidate, a really dismal outing. A party like the PDP coming sixth behind the AGC, behind YPP, and not even doing well at all. I mean, less than 2,000 votes, even though the candidate of the party says, I'm very proud of my vote. I mean, I didn't buy any votes, and, this was really what I scored, given the circumstances. I was away for 3 months, and all of my people were bought by the ADC. So this is the current situation of the PDP, if we're to go by what it is that, they're currently facing. How optimistic are you that the PDP will be able to muscle what it needs to muscle together to be able to put forward an opposition that is credible ahead of the 2027?
There is always a silver lining to any or every dark cloud. The silver lining for the PDP and for the entirety of the national opposition groups is that the immense pressure they're facing is a sign of not weakness on their part, but of a devastating weakness on the side of the party in power, the party called APC, with the president and his team. Because no human being in a party would like to just be in trouble for the sake of being in trouble, to implode for the sake of imploding. Now somebody is pushing something somewhere. We say a witch cries in the night, a baby dies in the morning. A bird is dancing on the wayside, a drummer is in the bush. PDP is a very powerful party. It's a legacy party. One my party, it was formed in 1998. So it lives in every home, in every heart, in every village, even in the reduced state of national, potency. So the party in power, and my take on this is, as a scholar and as a student of our politics and history, is frightened even with the party losing, even with the governors being lost. APC is still frightened. Why is it frightened? To have a major opposition party like the PDP with a strong presidential candidate in 2027, maybe former President Jonathan, maybe P2B, or somebody from the South with that kind of ranking, is a nightmare scenario. So what do? You must ensure that PDP doesn't survive. And how do you achieve it? You plant squeezlings within the ranks of the party, even within the ranks of AP, ADC, the ranks of Labour, the ranks of SDP. It's only PDP that is actually having these internal tensions and fragmentation. When you plant these squeezlings in their rank, it keeps the party busy in a negative direction. But I can assure you of one thing. Factions are normal situations in the party. Look at Anambra you're talking about. So Ludo just escaped being a factional governor just a few months ago. For 14, 15 odd years, Apuga has been in a factional state, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. But they've been producing governors, senators, reps, and so on. Why? Because INEC is a regulator. If you go to INEC and say, who is the chairman of Apuga, they will tell you. Chairman of Labour Party, they will tell you. Who is the chairman of PDP's ambassador? There's no change in that. It is what is there, not the noise you make on the outside, either in a cozy room, hotel room, or maybe in a federal office somewhere, like we learned, use a federal location, do your factional thing there, whether with drinks or no drinks there. The key thing is that the chairman of the party is Damagu. That's what INEC knows. And if the NWC see that he leads, suspended the other 4, and INEC affirms it, then the party is in complete firm ground. For the convention, a baby has been born. He can't abort it. INEC summoned the party, and the party came, and they put the house in order. INEC monitored 4 or 5 NEC meetings, BOT meetings, Governor Forum meetings, and their NWC meetings with representatives. Every letter, every document, everything has been signed off. The moment you discharge the judicial restriction to say you have a counter order or you have obeyed this order, you hold your convention successfully. The other legal matters can walk their way. The beautiful thing for the party is that, unlike other elections which just took place, the coming election is either going to be 2027 early or at most late 2026. One clear year for you to put your house in order, overcome these challenges, and effectively marshal your resources for the battle ahead.
Well, we hope that the party will be able to match your optimism and give the APC a run for their money.
I hope so, because multiple democracy is very crucial for the survival of Nigerian democracy and the state of the country itself.
Indeed. Well, we have to thank you for always sharing your thoughts very generously with us. Professor Odenta is the founder national secretary of the Alliance for Democracy. Thank you once more.
It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, that's where we'll wrap up today's segment of today's program, Sunrise City. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogunyusuf.
And I'm Ayo. Market Business Morning is on the hour. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a beautiful week.